Throughout history, countless religious texts have shaped the beliefs and spiritual practices of civilizations. While the Bible remains one of the most influential collections of sacred scripture, many ancient writings were left out of its canon. These non-canonical texts, some apocryphal, others esoteric, reveal terrifying visions of the afterlife, apocalyptic prophecies, and dark forces that challenge our understanding of good and evil. In this series, we will journey through the most chilling and unsettling texts that were excluded from the Bible. From the ominous prophecies in the Apocalypse of Baruch, to the demonic encounters in the Testament of Solomon, and the cosmic battles in the Ascension of Isaiah, these ancient scriptures offer harrowing accounts of divine judgment, eternal punishment, and the cosmic forces that shape our world. Prepare to explore terrifying visions of hell, demons that haunt the earth, and ancient giants whose spirits still roam among us. This is a world where the boundary between light and darkness blurs, where humanity faces the wrath of vengeful forces, and where the secrets of the universe are cloaked in fear. These are the scariest ancient texts that didn't make it into the Bible. The first text we will look at is the Book of Enoch, particularly the section known as the Book of the Watchers. Although most of you are probably somewhat familiar with it, I am including it because it truly is one of the most terrifying ancient texts. It describes the fall of the Watchers, angels who descended to earth and became corrupted by lust, teaching forbidden knowledge to humanity. In this text, 200 angels led by Semyaza descend to Mount Hermon, where they take human women as wives. They teach humans a range of dangerous knowledge, including sorcery, astrology, and the forging of weapons. The hybrid offspring born from their union are the Nephilim, gigantic, bloodthirsty beings who wreak havoc on Earth. These Nephilim consume human flesh and create a reign of terror over humanity. The violence and corruption become so great that it eventually leads to God's decision to flood the earth to cleanse it of these beings. This text introduces one of the earliest depictions of apocalyptic judgment brought on by a divine rebellion and the ensuing chaos. The sheer destruction wrought by the Nephilim, coupled with the idea of divine beings rebelling against God and corrupting humanity, adds a terrifying element of cosmic horror to this ancient narrative. Next on our list is the Apocalypse of Peter, an early Christian text that provides a vivid, horrifying description of hell, much more graphic than anything in the canonical Gospels. It paints a picture of the afterlife that is full of vivid imagery of eternal punishment. Peter is given a tour of hell, where he witnesses the gruesome punishments meted out to sinners. Those who have committed blasphemy are hung by their tongues over a lake of flaming excrement. Murderers are cast into a pit where they are tormented by wild beasts that tear them apart. Those who engage in adultery are suspended by their hair and burned by fire. The detail of the tortures is shocking, depicting hell as a place of personalized suffering that directly relates to the sins people committed in life. The Apocalypse of Peter provides a terrifying vision of eternal damnation, where sinners face grotesque, imaginative torments that are eternal and merciless. The graphic nature of these punishments makes this one of the most haunting descriptions of the afterlife. Number 3. The Testament of Solomon is a pseudo-epigraphical text that describes King Solomon's ability to command demons through a magical ring given to him by the archangel Michael. It details the names, appearances, and terrifying abilities of the demons that Solomon enslaves to build the temple. One of the most terrifying moments in the text is Solomon's encounter with the demon Asmodeus. Asmodeus reveals that he can make men sin by inflaming their passions, leading them into lust and destruction. Other demons reveal their horrifying abilities as well. Orneus torments people by causing disease and sucking the life from their bodies. Beelzebul controls the world's leaders and wreaks havoc through possession, and Abizithibod, one of the most powerful, causes chaos in the heavens. Solomon uses his magical ring to force the demons to work for him, but the fact that these terrifying beings have such detailed and monstrous powers adds a sense of fear and danger to the narrative. The intimate descriptions of each demon, their powers, and the potential they have to torment humanity is deeply unsettling. The idea that these supernatural beings can manipulate human weaknesses and bring destruction is a chilling warning. At number 4, the Gospel of Nicodemus, also known as the Acts of Pilate, contains an extended account of Jesus' trial and crucifixion. But it also features a harrowing description of Jesus' descent into the underworld, also known as the harrowing of hell. This text expands on what happened after Jesus' death and before his resurrection. After his crucifixion, Jesus descends into Hades to rescue the souls of the righteous dead. The text describes the horrific environment of Hades as a place of darkness, chains, and torment. The gates of Hades are heavily guarded by Satan and his demonic legions. As Jesus approaches, the chaotic forces of the underworld tremble in fear. The rulers of Hades debate whether they can withstand him. Despite their efforts to block his entry, Jesus breaks the gates and frees the souls trapped inside. Satan himself is bound and cast down in disgrace, as the terrifying underworld is shaken by the authority of Jesus' divine power. The vivid portrayal of Hades as a place of terror and Satan's ultimate humiliation evokes fear, as it showcases the ultimate confrontation between divine light and the darkness of the underworld. The imagery of Satan trembling before Jesus and the hopelessness of the souls in Hades make this a profoundly eerie narrative. At number 5, the Book of the Cave of Treasures is a Syriac Christian text that provides a more detailed account of biblical history from the creation of Adam to the death of Christ. It offers expanded narratives and explanations of many biblical events, often with chilling additions that were not included in the canonical Bible. One of the most unnerving parts of the text is the expanded narrative of Cain and Abel. According to this text, after Cain kills Abel, a dreadful punishment befalls him. The earth refuses to accept Abel's body, and as a result, Cain must carry his dead brother on his shoulders, wandering for years, haunted by the sight and stench of his decaying corpse. This extended curse weighs heavily on Cain, and he is tormented by visions of demons and restless spirits as he roams the earth, cursed and outcast, until he finally finds a place to bury Abel's remains. Even then, Cain is pursued by a deep sense of doom and sorrow, knowing that his soul is lost. The idea of Cain being forced to carry the corpse of his brother, along with the nightmarish visions and torments he endures, adds a haunting layer to an already tragic biblical story. The imagery of demons and spirits following him as he bears this punishment adds a horror movie-like quality to the narrative. At number 6, the Apocalypse of Paul is an early Christian text that describes the Apostle Paul's vision of heaven and hell. Much like the Apocalypse of Peter, it presents a graphic and detailed description of the torments that await sinners in the afterlife, with a particular focus on the horrors of hell. In this apocryphal vision, Paul is taken on a journey through the afterlife, where he witnesses the unimaginable suffering of those condemned to hell. One of the most chilling scenes involves a group of souls trapped in a river of fire. These are the souls of those who are unrepentant, greedy, or guilty of violence. They are burned and tormented eternally by demons with monstrous faces, using iron rods and fire. The souls scream in agony, but their suffering is without end. Elsewhere in hell, Paul witnesses those who committed blasphemy being bound and tortured by fiery chains. The demons laugh and mock their victims, reveling in their pain. The terrifying and detailed depiction of hell in the Apocalypse of Paul is deeply unsettling. The torment is not only physical but also psychological, with demons taunting and mocking the damned souls. The text's relentless portrayal of eternal suffering adds to its harrowing effect, making it one of the most frightening visions of hell in early Christian writings. Number 7, the Book of Jubilees expands on narratives found in Genesis and Exodus. One of its unsettling aspects is its explanation of the origins of evil spirits. After the flood, disembodied spirits of the Nephilim became evil spirits that wander the earth, corrupting humanity. These spirits were meant to be bound, but some were left to assist Mastema, or Satan, in leading people astray. They cause madness, disease, and violence, leading humanity into rebellion. The idea of malevolent spirits roaming the earth at Satan's command adds a sinister layer to humanity's struggle against evil. Number 8. The Apocalypse of Zephaniah is an apocalyptic text that describes the prophet Zephaniah's journey through the realms of heaven and hell, witnessing the fates of the righteous and the wicked. Zephaniah sees black angels with fiery faces devouring sinners in hell. These angels laugh as they torment the damned. Each sinner suffers based on their specific transgressions, with liars, adulterers, and blasphemers facing horrific punishments. The imagery of angels devouring sinners and delighting in their torment is particularly unsettling, portraying a horrifying version of hell. Number 9. The Sibylline oracles are a mixture of Jewish, Christian, and pagan traditions containing apocalyptic prophecies. One oracle describes the earth's destruction by fire. Mountains collapse, cities sink into the sea, and stars fall from the sky as the dead rise from their graves, only to be consumed by flames. The world crumbles in apocalyptic devastation. The terrifying vision of Earth's total destruction, along with the chaos of the dead rising, creates a nightmarish scenario of the end of days. Number 10. The Apocalypse of Baruch is a Jewish apocalyptic text attributed to Baruch, the scribe of the prophet Jeremiah. It describes the coming destruction of Jerusalem and the end of the world, with terrifying visions of the judgment that will befall humanity. Baruch receives visions of the final judgment, in which the earth will shake, the heavens will open, and an overwhelming darkness will cover the world. The wicked are shown being dragged into an abyss by monstrous angels of destruction, who are sent to punish them for their sins. The earth itself groans as the unrighteous are consumed by firestorms and plagues. The sun turns to darkness, and the moon into blood, while the earth cracks open, swallowing entire cities. Even the righteous are overcome with fear at the sight of the divine wrath being poured out. The vivid depictions of natural disasters and supernatural punishments, coupled with the absolute certainty of divine judgment, make this text one of the most unsettling descriptions of the end times in apocalyptic literature. Number 11. The Gospel of Bartholomew is an apocryphal Christian text that offers a dialogue between the apostles and Jesus about death and the afterlife. One of its most frightening passages involves a discussion about demons and the realm of the dead. In this gospel, Bartholomew asks Jesus to reveal what happens to souls after death. Jesus grants him a vision of the underworld, where Bartholomew sees demons tormenting the souls of the wicked. The demons are described as grotesque, horned creatures with glowing eyes and sharp claws. They drag the souls through rivers of fire and pits of sulfur, torturing them without mercy. Bartholomew witnesses souls screaming in agony, pleading for deliverance, but the demons only laugh as they continue their torment. The text emphasizes that these souls are eternally damned, with no hope of salvation. The grotesque description of the demons, coupled with the hopelessness of the damned souls, creates a harrowing vision of the afterlife. The depiction of eternal torment and the malicious delight of the demons adds an especially terrifying layer to the narrative. Number 12. The Odes of Solomon is a collection of early Christian hymns, but among these hymns, there is an unsettling reference to the fall of angels and the consequences of their rebellion. One of the odes describes how the fallen angels, cast out from heaven, wander the earth, lamenting their separation from God. These fallen beings roam through desolate wastelands and dark caves, filled with bitterness and regret. The ode describes their sorrowful songs, which echo through the emptiness, full of anguish for their lost glory. These angels are depicted as shadowy, distorted figures, trapped in eternal suffering. Their cries are described as so mournful that they cause the ground to shake, and those who hear their lament are filled with a deep existential terror, sensing the weight of divine judgment even from a distance. The image of fallen angels, once divine beings, reduced to wandering in misery and despair, creates an eerie sense of cosmic punishment. Their sorrowful songs, combined with the emptiness of their existence, evoke a deep fear of what it means to be cut off from the divine. Number 13. The Apocalypse of Abraham is a Jewish apocalyptic text that details a vision given to the patriarch Abraham. It focuses on themes of divine judgment, the fate of humanity, and the terrifying events of the end times. In a vision, Abraham is taken up to the heavens by the angel Yahuel, where he witnesses the future destruction of the world. The vision shows the earth splitting apart, with fire and smoke rising from the cracks. Abraham sees a multitude of sinners being dragged into the flames by dark, monstrous figures. These figures, with their gaping mouths and fiery eyes, represent the agents of divine wrath. Abraham also witnesses a great darkness covering the earth, and he hears the cries of those suffering, echoing across the land. The vision culminates in a terrifying judgment scene where the righteous and the wicked are separated, with the latter being cast into a bottomless abyss. The description of the earth itself splitting open and swallowing the wicked, along with the presence of monstrous figures carrying out divine judgment, paints a terrifying picture of the end of days. The vision is filled with dread, as the cries of the damned echo across a world engulfed in darkness and fire. Number 14. The Vision of Paul is an early Christian text that expands on the themes of the afterlife and judgment. It is one of the most vivid and graphic depictions of hell found in early Christian literature, describing the torments of the damned in excruciating detail. In this vision, Paul is taken on a journey through hell, where he witnesses the horrifying punishments that await sinners. He sees adulterers suspended over a lake of fire, while blasphemers have their tongues cut out by demons with burning swords. Murderers are tormented by serpents that continuously bite and inject venom into their bodies. The most chilling sight is a pit where the souls of the damned are chained and whipped by demons, their flesh torn and burned while they scream for mercy that never comes. Paul also sees those who were greedy in life being forced to swallow molten gold, their throats burning as they choke on the very wealth they hoarded. The detailed and graphic descriptions of hell's torments make the Vision of Paul one of the most frightening early Christian texts. The endless suffering of the damned, along with the cruel creativity of their punishments, adds a sense of horror to the text's portrayal of the afterlife. Number 15. The Ascension of Isaiah is an early Christian text that describes a prophetic vision of the prophet Isaiah. The text includes both heavenly visions and apocalyptic imagery, particularly focusing on the end of the world and the final judgment. Isaiah is granted a vision of the last days, during which the earth will be consumed by darkness, and the rulers of the world will become agents of Satan. The text describes terrifying cosmic events. The stars fall from the sky, the moon turns to blood, and the sun ceases to shine. Isaiah also sees the destruction of the world's cities, as earthquakes and plagues ravage the earth. As the forces of Satan rise, the righteous are persecuted and driven into hiding, while the wicked revel in their power. However, this period of darkness is followed by a divine intervention, where the wicked are cast into a lake of fire, their screams of terror echoing across the land as they are consumed in the final judgment. The combination of cosmic destruction and the rise of satanic forces creates a sense of overwhelming doom in the Ascension of Isaiah. The imagery of a blood-red moon, falling stars, and the sun going dark adds a terrifying apocalyptic backdrop to the ultimate punishment of the wicked. Number 16. The Gospel of Thomas is a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus, some of which diverge from the teachings found in the canonical Gospels. While this text is primarily focused on spiritual wisdom, certain sayings evoke a sense of mystery and cosmic dread. One of the sayings in the Gospel of Thomas warns of a cosmic upheaval. The heavens will roll up, and the earth will be destroyed in flames. This apocalyptic vision, combined with the cryptic nature of many of Jesus' sayings in this text, hints at hidden knowledge that only the enlightened can access. One of the sayings also suggests that those who do not uncover the truth will face eternal oblivion. He who does not know the truth is a poverty of spirit, and to him will come a great darkness. This idea that ignorance of spiritual truth could lead to eternal darkness invokes a deep existential fear. The text's emphasis on secret knowledge and the dire consequences of failing to attain it creates a sense of existential dread, leaving readers to wonder whether they are truly prepared for the cosmic events described. Number 17. The Apocalypse of Peter provides one of the most vivid and terrifying descriptions of hell, expanding on the punishment of sinners in graphic detail. While we touched on this text earlier, here is another section with different tortures and horrors. Peter is shown the fates of various sinners. Those who blasphemed are hung by their tongues over a lake of burning sulfur. Liars have their mouths seared with red-hot iron, and thieves are chased and torn apart by wild beasts. Adulterers are suspended by their hair over a field of flames, and their flesh is continuously scorched by burning coals. The graphic punishments reflect the specific sins of each individual, and the demons in hell take delight in the suffering of their victims, amplifying the terror with their malicious laughter. The detailed, symbolic tortures, with each punishment directly related to the sin committed, create a personalized hell for every sinner. The unrelenting nature of the torments makes this text one of the most terrifying visions of eternal damnation in early Christian literature. Number 18. The Apocalypse of Esdras, also known as 4th Esdras or 2nd Esdras in the Vulgate, is a Jewish and Christian apocalyptic text that deals with the fate of humanity, divine judgment, and the coming of the Messiah. It offers vivid descriptions of the resurrection of the dead and the final judgment. Esdras is given a vision of the afterlife, where he sees the righteous being taken into paradise, while the wicked are cast into a fiery pit. The terrifying scene includes the earth opening up and the souls of the unrighteous being sucked into the chasm, surrounded by flames and darkness. The souls cry out in desperation, but there is no escape. The text also emphasizes the moment when souls must confront their sins, with demons appearing to drag the guilty into the abyss. Esdras is horrified as he witnesses the eternal damnation of those who failed to repent in life. The vision of the earth swallowing the souls of the wicked and the despair of the damned as they face their eternal fate is a haunting image. The presence of demons as agents of divine judgment, dragging souls into the abyss, adds to the horror of this apocalyptic vision. Number 19. The Testament of the 12 Patriarchs is a collection of the final words of the 12 sons of Jacob, in which they provide moral instruction and prophecy. One of the most unsettling parts of this text involves the descendants of the Nephilim, or giants, and their corruption of humanity. In the Testament of Reuben, Reuben speaks of how the giants, offspring of the fallen angels and humans, wreaked havoc upon the earth, leading mankind into violence, depravity, and idol worship. These giants are described as being cruel and bloodthirsty, feasting on the flesh of men and animals alike. Reuben warns his descendants to avoid the sins of the giants, for their wickedness led to their annihilation by the flood. The terror of their existence haunts humanity, as their spirits, now disembodied, are said to still wander the earth, seeking to corrupt the souls of the living. The idea that the giants' spirits, after their physical destruction, continue to haunt and corrupt humanity adds a supernatural, enduring threat to their legacy of violence. The lingering presence of these malevolent forces makes this a chilling tale of ancient evil that persists even after their demise. Number 20, the Book of the Secrets of Enoch, also known as Second Enoch, is a Jewish apocryphal text that describes Enoch's journey through the heavens. One of the most terrifying aspects of the text is Enoch's encounter with the fallen angels who have been bound in a terrible prison. As Enoch is taken through the layers of heaven, he is shown a terrifying realm where the fallen angels, who rebelled against God, are imprisoned. These angels are bound in chains of darkness, trapped in a desolate and fiery wasteland. Their once glorious forms are now twisted and grotesque, with faces that reflect eternal torment and regret. Enoch is warned to stay away from them until the final judgment, at which point their torment will only increase. The description of the once powerful angels reduced to monstrous forms for their fury is still great, and they seek to destroy anyone who comes near. The text emphasizes that these angels will remain in this state, and chained in a fiery prison adds a sense of cosmic horror to the text. Their eternal suffering and unrelenting anger create a vision of torment that extends beyond time itself, making this a deeply unsettling narrative. Number 21, the Apocalypse of Adam, is a Gnostic text that tells the story of Adam's revelation to his son Seth, where he reveals the mysteries of the universe and the fate of the world. It includes a prophecy of the end times, with a graphic depiction of the earth's destruction. Adam reveals to Seth a vision of the future in which a great cataclysm will engulf the world. He describes the heavens opening and fire raining down upon the earth. The seas will boil, mountains will crumble, and the land will be consumed by flames. People will scream in terror, fleeing from the destruction, but there will be no escape. The text describes the elements of the earth turning against humanity. Floods, earthquakes, and storms will tear the world apart, leaving nothing but ashes. Even the stars will fall from the sky, and the sun will be blotted out, plunging the earth into darkness. The end is inevitable, and there is no salvation for those who have been corrupted by materialism and false gods. The apocalyptic imagery in the Apocalypse of Adam is especially terrifying due to its portrayal of total destruction on both a cosmic and earthly scale. The idea that the earth itself will rise up against humanity, combined with the hopelessness of escape, creates an overwhelming sense of dread and inevitability. Number 22, the Apocalypse of Elijah, is an apocalyptic text that provides a detailed account of the end times, focusing particularly on the reign of the Antichrist. It describes the trials and tribulations that humanity will face during this period of darkness. The text describes how the Antichrist will rise to power, deceiving the nations with signs and wonders. He will perform false miracles, claiming to be God, and the majority of humanity will follow him. Under his rule, those who refuse to worship him will face horrific punishments. The text speaks of Christians being hunted down, tortured, and executed in public spectacles. The Antichrist's forces will unleash plagues, famine, and war, causing immense suffering. As his reign continues, the natural world will descend into chaos. Rivers will turn to blood, the sun will scorch the earth, and the moon will appear as blood. The world will be engulfed in violence, and the faithful will be forced into hiding, living in constant fear of capture and death. The detailed depiction of the Antichrist's rise and the catastrophic events that follow create a deeply unsettling image of the future. The idea of global deception, where even the most righteous are hunted and tortured, evokes a sense of helplessness and dread. Number 23, the Gospel of Judas, is a Gnostic text that portrays Judas Iscariot not as a betrayer of Jesus, but as someone acting according to Jesus' secret instructions. This text delves into Gnostic cosmology, offering a darker view of the universe's spiritual hierarchy. In this Gospel, Judas is depicted as the only disciple who understands the true nature of Jesus' mission. Jesus reveals to Judas the existence of higher spiritual beings who control the material world, describing them as cruel, malevolent rulers that trap souls in a cycle of suffering. These rulers, referred to as the archons, are depicted as terrifying, monstrous entities that feed on human ignorance and suffering. Jesus tells Judas that humanity is under the control of these dark forces, and the material world itself is a prison. Judas's betrayal is framed as a necessary act to free Jesus' spirit from this cosmic trap, but it also condemns him to eternal hatred from mankind. The portrayal of the archons as malevolent cosmic beings that dominate and exploit humanity adds a deeply sinister aspect to the narrative. The idea that the world is a prison controlled by dark spiritual forces creates an overwhelming sense of hopelessness and existential terror. Number 24, the Vision of Ezra, is an apocalyptic text that describes the prophet Ezra's vision of the final judgment and the fate of humanity. It provides a vivid portrayal of the end of the world, divine judgment, and the terrifying punishments that await the wicked. Ezra is taken to witness the final judgment, where he sees the souls of the dead being sorted into the righteous and the wicked. The wicked are cast into a lake of fire, where they are tormented by demons. These demons are described as grotesque beings with flaming eyes, sharp claws, and wings made of darkness. They lash at the souls of the damned with fiery whips, and the cries of the suffering are described as echoing for eternity. Meanwhile, the righteous are taken into paradise, but even they must pass through a narrow path filled with dangers, where they are tested by angels of judgment. The vision concludes with the complete destruction of the earth as the seas boil and the skies fall, leaving only fire and smoke. The imagery of the lake of fire, the grotesque demons tormenting souls, and the destruction of the earth creates a powerful sense of horror. The idea that even the righteous must face trials before reaching paradise adds a layer of tension and fear to the afterlife judgment. Number 25, the Apocalypse of Baruch, also known as Tu Baruch, is a Jewish apocalyptic text attributed to the scribe Baruch, a disciple of the prophet Jeremiah. It describes the fall of Jerusalem and the apocalyptic visions that follow. The text paints a picture of divine wrath and the utter destruction of the holy city, leading to catastrophic consequences for the world. Baruch receives visions of Jerusalem's destruction, which comes as a punishment for the people's sins. The text describes terrifying scenes of fire engulfing the city, the sky turning dark as the earth trembles, and the temple collapsing into ruin. Baruch sees people running in terror, only to be swallowed by the earth as the ground splits beneath them. The survivors are left in a desolate wasteland, where disease, famine, and death rule. Baruch is also shown visions of the end of days, where the seas rise, the stars fall, and mountains crumble, destroying what remains of the earth. The culmination of the vision is the resurrection of the dead and the final judgment, where the wicked are cast into eternal darkness, never to be seen again. The graphic destruction of Jerusalem, combined with the apocalyptic imagery of a collapsing world, evokes a sense of divine wrath and hopelessness. The sense of total devastation and the haunting imagery of eternal darkness for the wicked add a frightening depth to the narrative. Number 26. The Odes of Solomon is a collection of early Christian hymns. While many of the odes speak of divine love and spiritual awakening, one of the hymns offers a chilling reflection on the lamentation of the fallen angels. It tells the story of angels who rebelled against God and were cast out of heaven. One of the odes describes the fall of the angels, who, after being cast out from heaven, roam the earth in sorrow and bitterness. These angels lament their lost glory, and their voices echo through desolate places, filling the air with sorrowful wails. The text describes these beings as shadowy figures with deformed wings, who are no longer capable of flying but are instead condemned to wander the earth. Their cries of anguish are said to cause storms and earthquakes, shaking the foundations of the world. The lament of these angels is so powerful that it disrupts the natural order, causing chaos and fear wherever it is heard. Humans who come into contact with them experience terror and madness, as the fallen angels whisper dark truths about the end of days. The image of fallen angels, once divine beings, reduced to wandering the earth in sorrow and bitterness, creates a powerful sense of cosmic despair. The notion that their lament can disrupt nature and bring madness to those who hear it adds a haunting and eerie quality to the text. Number 27. The Apocalypse of Sedrach is an early Christian text that focuses on the fear of death, divine judgment, and the afterlife. It describes Sedrach's vision of heaven and hell and the terrifying consequences of living a sinful life. Sedrach is taken up to heaven, where he witnesses the terrifying scene of the final judgment. The text describes the souls of the dead as they are brought before God. The righteous are led into paradise, but the wicked are condemned to hell, where demons wait to drag them into the fiery abyss. Sedrach sees souls being weighed on scales, their sins exposed before the assembly of angels. The wicked plead for mercy, but there is none to be given. As they are cast into hell, the text describes their screams echoing across the heavens, their bodies consumed by eternal flames. The sight fills Sedrach with fear, and he begs God to show mercy to the souls of humanity. Despite his plea, he is told that justice must prevail, and the unrepentant are doomed to suffer for eternity. The fear of judgment, the graphic imagery of souls being dragged into hell by demons, and the unyielding nature of divine justice create a sense of overwhelming terror. The pleading of the wicked for mercy and the stark finality of their fate contribute to the dread and despair of the text. Number 28. The Apocalypse of Abraham is an apocryphal text that recounts the visions Abraham receives from God, including terrifying depictions of the fate of the world and the judgment of sinners. In one of the most unsettling parts of the text, Abraham witnesses a vision of fallen stars, which are revealed to be fallen angels cast down from heaven for their rebellion against God. These angels are shown chained in a desolate, dark realm beneath the earth, screaming in agony and regret. Their once luminous forms have become twisted and grotesque, their wings burned and their faces contorted with pain. Abraham is told that these angels, despite their suffering, will be released to cause havoc on the earth before the final judgment, leading humanity into further sin and chaos. Their release will be marked by great disasters, plagues, earthquakes, and stars falling from the sky. Abraham is horrified by the vision of these terrifying beings, whose desire for vengeance will bring unimaginable suffering to mankind. The portrayal of fallen angels, twisted by their rebellion and chained in darkness, creates a sense of cosmic dread. Their eventual release and the prophecy of disaster that follows adds a deeply unsettling layer of impending doom, making this one of the most terrifying apocalyptic visions. Number 29, the Apocalypse of Zephaniah is a Jewish apocalyptic text that offers graphic descriptions of the afterlife, focusing on the torments of hell and the fate of the wicked. It provides a glimpse into a terrifying underworld where sinners face eternal punishment. Zephaniah is taken on a journey through the underworld by an angel, where he sees the torments of the damned. In one vision, he witnesses a lake of boiling pitch, where souls are plunged and burned alive. Demons with fiery whips torment those who had lived lives of greed and cruelty. The text describes these demons as having faces of serpents and eyes of flame, their voices screeching like thunder as they mock the souls in torment. Zephaniah also witnesses sinners being forced to walk across razor-sharp iron blades, with every step cutting deeper into their flesh. The cries of the damned echo through the caverns of hell, but there is no mercy or escape. Zephaniah is told that these punishments will last for eternity, and that hell's torments are inescapable for those who rejected divine law. The grotesque and graphic imagery of the tortures inflicted on the damned, combined with the terrifying forms of the demons, creates a vision of hell that is deeply horrifying. The idea of endless suffering and the mocking cruelty of the demons heighten the terror of the afterlife depicted in this text. Number 30. The Gospel of Bartholomew is an apocryphal Christian text that includes a vivid dialogue between the apostles and Jesus about the afterlife, sin, and the powers of darkness. One of its most chilling sections describes an encounter with Satan himself. In this text, Bartholomew asks Jesus to reveal the power of Satan. Jesus agrees and commands Satan to appear before the apostles. When Satan emerges, his appearance is described as a monstrous dark form, his body covered in scales and his eyes glowing red with hatred. Satan is bound in chains but exudes a powerful aura of malevolence. He tells the apostles of how he tempts humanity, leading them into sin and eternal damnation. Satan also reveals that he once had great beauty and power, but after his fall from heaven, he became twisted and deformed. His rage and hatred are directed toward God and humanity, whom he seeks to destroy. The apostles tremble in fear as Satan speaks of his desire to drag as many souls as possible into the abyss with him, offering a glimpse into the depth of his evil and his role in the cosmic battle between good and evil. The terrifying appearance of Satan, combined with his candid revelation of his hatred and desire for destruction, makes this encounter deeply unsettling. The image of Satan as a deformed, monstrous being consumed by rage and vengeance adds a sense of personal and cosmic danger as he seeks to corrupt all of humanity. Number 31. The Odes of Solomon are a collection of early Christian hymns, with many focused on themes of divine love, redemption, and spiritual awakening. However, some of the odes depict the sorrow and darkness of a fallen world, creating a contrast between divine light and the sinister forces that seek to corrupt humanity. One of the odes speaks of a world enveloped in spiritual darkness, where the forces of evil roam freely, seeking to entrap souls. The ode describes how the righteous are hunted by demonic entities, described as shadowy figures with eyes of flame. These beings move silently through the night, whispering falsehoods into the ears of the unsuspecting, luring them into despair and sin. The righteous must guard themselves against these beings, for once they fall into their grasp, they are dragged into the deepest pits of darkness, where hope cannot reach. The text warns that those who succumb to these forces will face a spiritual death, forever separated from the light of God. The imagery of shadowy, demonic beings stalking the righteous, whispering lies, and dragging souls into spiritual darkness creates a foreboding atmosphere of unseen danger. The notion of spiritual death and eternal separation from divine light adds to the terror of this depiction. Number 32, the Gospel of Nicodemus, also known as the Acts of Pilate, contains an expanded narrative of Jesus' trial, crucifixion, and resurrection. One of the most chilling sections involves Jesus' descent into the underworld after his death, a scene known as the harrowing of hell. After his crucifixion, Jesus descends into Hades to free the souls of the righteous dead. The text describes Hades as a vast, dark, and chaotic realm where the souls of the damned are imprisoned in eternal torment. Demons patrol the realm, their forms twisted and monstrous, inflicting punishment on the souls trapped there. The walls of Hades are made of fire, and rivers of molten lava flow through the caverns, consuming the souls that wail in agony. When Jesus arrives, the demons flee in terror, and the gates of Hades tremble at his presence. Jesus commands the gates to open, and as they are shattered, the souls of the righteous are released into the light. The sight of Jesus liberating the dead contrasts starkly with the torment of the damned, who remain trapped in Hades, screaming for mercy that will never come. The terrifying vision of Hades, with its rivers of fire and demonic tormentors, creates a vivid picture of eternal suffering. The contrast between the liberation of the righteous and the hopeless cries of the damned adds a haunting element to the text. Number 33. The Gospel of Peter is an apocryphal Christian text that offers an alternative account of the trial, crucifixion, and resurrection of Jesus. One of the more unnerving moments in the text is the description of the dead rising from their graves at the moment of Jesus' resurrection. The text describes how after Jesus' resurrection, the earth shakes violently, and the dead rise from their tombs. These walking dead are depicted as pale and gaunt, their eyes hollow and their flesh decayed. They wander the streets of Jerusalem in silence, moving as if in a trance, their presence causing great fear among the living. The text suggests that these souls had been trapped in death, waiting for Jesus' resurrection to free them. However, their appearance is ghastly, and their aimless wandering through the city adds a sense of dread. The living are struck with terror at the sight of these revenants, unsure whether they are a sign of salvation or a harbinger of further doom. The depiction of the dead rising from their graves, wandering the streets of Jerusalem with decayed flesh and hollow eyes, is deeply unsettling. The ambiguity of their purpose, whether as a sign of resurrection or a warning of future judgment, creates a haunting image of the living and the dead intersecting in a moment of cosmic significance. Number 34. The Ascension of Isaiah is a Christian apocryphal text that narrates the prophet Isaiah's visions of heaven and the future fall of the world. It contains vivid depictions of the fall of Satan and the final destruction of the world. Isaiah is taken up through the layers of heaven, where he is shown a vision of the final days. He sees Satan and his angels, who had once dwelled in the highest heaven, cast out and falling to earth. As they descend, they spread corruption and sin, leading to the rise of false prophets and a period of chaos on earth. The skies darken, and the stars begin to fall from the heavens like burning embers, setting the earth ablaze. Mountains crumble, and the seas rise to engulf the land, as the forces of evil wreak havoc on the world. The righteous are hunted and persecuted, forced into hiding as the world falls into utter ruin. The text ends with the promise that the righteous will be saved, but not before enduring unimaginable horrors. The fall of Satan and his angels, combined with the apocalyptic destruction of the world, creates a terrifying vision of chaos and ruin. The relentless spread of corruption and the persecution of the righteous add to the sense of dread, making the world's end feel both inevitable and overwhelming. Number 35. The Apocalypse of Adam is a Gnostic text that tells the story of Adam revealing secret knowledge to his son Seth about the origins of humanity and the coming destruction of the world. It offers a disturbing perspective on the forces that govern the fallen world. In his final moments, Adam tells Seth about the creation of the world by lower spiritual beings, known as archons, who rule the material world with cruelty and deception. These archons trap human souls in physical bodies, forcing them into a cycle of suffering and ignorance. Adam reveals that the archons will eventually bring about the end of the world, unleashing plagues, floods, and fires to cleanse the earth of humanity. The sun and moon will darken, and the stars will fall, as the archons rise in power to destroy what remains. Those who have not attained secret knowledge will be lost, trapped in the material world as it burns. Only the enlightened will escape to the higher realms, beyond the reach of the archons' tyranny. The idea that the world is ruled by malevolent beings who trap souls in a cycle of suffering adds a layer of existential horror to the text. The prophecy of the world's destruction, brought about by these dark forces, amplifies the sense of impending doom for humanity. Number 36. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is a Gnostic text that provides insight into Mary's role as a disciple of Jesus and includes visions of the afterlife. It offers a deeply spiritual yet unsettling view of what lies beyond death. In this Gospel, Mary has a vision of the afterlife, where she sees the souls of the dead being judged by dark celestial powers, known as the powers of darkness. These beings are responsible for testing the souls of the deceased, and they appear as terrifying figures with fiery wings and faces of shadow. Mary witnesses souls being stripped of their earthly attachments, suffering great torment as the powers of darkness tear away their sinful desires. Some souls, weighed down by their attachment to the material world, are dragged into an abyss of despair, where they are lost for eternity. Only those who have achieved true spiritual enlightenment can pass through these trials and ascend to the higher realms of light. The image of the powers of darkness, testing and tormenting souls in the afterlife, creates a nightmarish vision of post-mortem judgment. The possibility of being dragged into an abyss of eternal despair by these shadowy beings adds a deep sense of fear and uncertainty about the fate of the soul. Number 37, 3 Baruch is another apocalyptic text attributed to Baruch, a disciple of Jeremiah. This text describes Baruch's visions of the heavenly realms and includes a terrifying vision of a great beast that rises from the abyss. In his visions, Baruch is shown a great abyss, a bottomless pit from which a terrifying beast emerges. This beast is described as having the body of a serpent, with countless heads that breathe fire. The beast rises from the depths of the abyss, its eyes burning like coals, and it swallows the souls of the wicked, dragging them into its fiery maw. Baruch is told that this beast is the manifestation of ultimate destruction, and when it rises, it signals the beginning of the end of the world. The beast's hunger for souls is unrelenting, and the text describes it as consuming entire cities, engulfing them in fire and leaving only ashes behind. Those who are devoured by the beast are lost forever, with no hope of resurrection or salvation. The vision of a multi-headed fiery beast rising from a bottomless abyss to devour the souls of the wicked creates an image of unstoppable destruction. The beast's connection to the end of the world adds an overwhelming sense of doom, with the fate of the lost souls serving as a haunting reminder of eternal damnation. Number 38, the Apocalypse of Sedrach, is an early Christian text that describes the visions of Sedrach as he is shown the afterlife and the torments of hell. It provides detailed and graphic descriptions of the punishment of the wicked. Sedrach is taken by an angel to witness the torments of the damned in hell. He sees souls bound in chains of fire, their bodies burned and flayed by demons with whips of molten iron. These demons, described as having wings of smoke and claws like knives, take pleasure in tormenting the souls, ripping them apart only for their bodies to reform and be tortured again. The air is filled with the screams of the damned, their agony unending as they are forced to relive their punishments for all eternity. Sedrach also sees a lake of fire, where souls are thrown and consumed by the flames, their bodies melting and reforming in an eternal cycle of suffering. The angel tells Sedrach that these souls are those who rejected God's mercy, and their torment is a reflection of their spiritual corruption. The detailed description of the demon's cruelty, combined with the endless suffering of the souls in the lake of fire, creates a terrifying vision of hell. The idea of eternal repeated torment with no possibility of escape adds a deeply unsettling layer to the narrative. Number 39, the Testament of Solomon is an ancient text that describes how King Solomon used a magical ring to control demons and force them to help build the temple. One of the most terrifying demons in the text is Asmodeus, the demon of lust and destruction. In the Testament of Solomon, the demon Asmodeus is summoned before Solomon. Asmodeus appears as a monstrous figure, with the body of a serpent and the face of a man, his eyes burning with malice. He reveals to Solomon that his purpose is to corrupt the minds of men and women, driving them into lust, violence, and destruction. Asmodeus boasts of how he causes men to commit murder in fits of rage and women to betray their husbands. His influence is pervasive, and he takes delight in sowing chaos wherever he goes. Solomon, using his magical ring, binds Asmodeus and forces him to help build the temple, but the demon warns that his influence will never be fully eradicated. Even in chains, Asmodeus whispers lies and temptations, seeking to lead others into sin. The description of Asmodeus as a demon of corruption and chaos, capable of driving people to madness and violence, creates a sense of dread. His ability to influence human behavior and sow destruction from within adds a psychological layer to the terror, making him one of the most frightening figures in the Testament of Solomon. Number 40, the Book of Giants is a fragmentary text from the Dead Sea Scrolls, expanding on the story of the Nephilim, the offspring of fallen angels and human women. It describes the chaos and destruction brought by these giants. The Nephilim, monstrous giants born from angels and humans, became violent and consumed the earth's resources, even turning to eating humans. They had visions of their impending destruction by a great flood sent by God. Despite their strength, they were helpless against divine judgment, and their pleas for mercy went unanswered. The image of massive giants consuming all in their path and their inevitable destruction adds a sense of cosmic horror, creating a haunting atmosphere of apocalyptic doom. Number 41, the Apocalypse of Paul details Paul's journey through hell, describing the torments that sinners face in the afterlife. Paul sees souls punished according to their sins. Adulterers are hung by their genitals, thieves carry molten chains, and blasphemers have their tongues ripped out by demons. The souls are endlessly tortured in flames and rivers of fire, their bodies regenerating to endure further torment. The grotesque imagery of eternal torment and the relentless, cruel punishments create a deeply unsettling vision of hell, emphasizing the horror of endless suffering. Number 42. The Gospel of the Egyptians is a Gnostic text that reveals the existence of dark cosmic rulers known as archons who control the material world. The archons are monstrous beings with serpent bodies and flaming wings who keep human souls trapped in ignorance. They feed on human suffering and seek to prevent humanity from attaining spiritual enlightenment. The text predicts a final confrontation where the archons will be unleashed upon the world, bringing plagues and disaster. The idea that the world is controlled by dark, malevolent forces that thrive on human suffering adds a layer of existential dread, making this text one of cosmic terror. Number 43. The Apocalypse of Abraham is a Jewish apocryphal text that describes visions given to Abraham, including the fate of the world and the punishment of the wicked. It depicts cosmic destruction and terrifying divine judgment. In one vision, Abraham sees the heavens filled with fire and chaos as stars fall from the sky, symbolizing the fall of heavenly beings and the destruction of the earth. He witnesses vast cataclysms, with the earth cracking open and flames consuming entire cities. The wicked are shown being swallowed by the earth itself, as mountains collapse and rivers turn to blood. Abraham is told that this destruction is a necessary judgment for the sins of humanity, and that only the righteous will survive. The image of stars falling from the sky, the earth splitting apart, and fire consuming everything creates a horrifying vision of the end times, with the inevitability of divine retribution looming over all of humanity. Number 44. The Apocalypse of Sedrach is a Christian apocalyptic text that describes a dialogue between God and Sedrach about the fate of souls and divine justice. It offers graphic depictions of the torment that awaits those who fail to repent. Sedrach is shown the fate of the souls who have died in sin. He witnesses angels casting these souls into a lake of fire, where they are tormented endlessly. Demons drag the souls into the flames, where they scream in agony, their bodies burning but never being consumed. The air is filled with the scent of burning flesh, and the souls cry out for mercy, but none is given. Sedrach pleads with God to show compassion, but he is told that justice must prevail for those who rejected God's mercy in life. The vivid depiction of a lake of fire and the cries of the damned create a terrifying image of eternal punishment. The relentless nature of the torment, with no chance of escape or mercy, adds a profound sense of horror to the afterlife. Number 45. The Testament of Solomon is an ancient text that describes how King Solomon used a magical ring to control demons and force them to help build the temple in Jerusalem. It includes detailed descriptions of the demons and their terrifying powers. Solomon encounters a host of demons, each with its own unique powers of destruction and corruption. One demon, named Orneus, appears as a monstrous figure with a burning mouth who consumes the life force of those he torments. Another demon, Abizithibod, boasts of his ability to control the winds and bring about hurricanes that destroy entire cities. The text describes how these demons cause plagues, madness, and violence, and how Solomon must bind them using his magical ring. Despite their imprisonment, the demons constantly try to escape, whispering lies and temptations to those around them, seeking to regain their freedom and wreak havoc once more. The detailed descriptions of the demons and their destructive powers, combined with their relentless desire to escape and continue their torment of humanity, create an atmosphere of fear and danger. The idea that these malevolent beings are only temporarily contained adds a sense of impending doom. Number 46. The Book of the Secrets of Enoch, also known as 2 Enoch, is a Jewish apocryphal text that describes Enoch's journey through the 7 heavens, revealing both the glories of paradise and the horrors of the underworld. As Enoch ascends through the heavens, he is shown a vision of the fiery abyss where the souls of the wicked are tormented. This realm is described as a vast, burning pit, filled with sulfurous flames that never go out. Enoch sees the souls of the unrighteous, writhing in pain as they are consumed by the fire, but never die. Demons with wings of smoke and claws of iron torment these souls, ripping at their flesh while mocking them for their sins. Enoch is told that this is the fate of those who have defied God, and their suffering will last for eternity. The graphic description of a fiery abyss, combined with the eternal nature of the torment inflicted by demonic beings, creates a horrifying vision of the afterlife for the wicked. The unending suffering and the demonic cruelty add to the terror of this apocalyptic vision. Number 47. The Ascension of Isaiah is an early Christian text that tells the story of Isaiah's journey through the heavens and his visions of the coming of Christ. It includes a terrifying depiction of the final cosmic battle between good and evil. In one of the visions, Isaiah is shown the final cosmic battle between the forces of light and darkness. The sky turns black as Satan and his legions of fallen angels descend to earth, bringing plagues and destruction with them. The sun and moon are blotted out, and the earth is engulfed in flames as cities crumble, and the seas rise in chaos. Isaiah sees the armies of heaven, led by the archangels, descending to battle these forces of darkness. The battle is brutal, with angels and demons clashing in the sky, causing the earth to shake. The text describes rivers of blood flowing as the armies of hell tear through humanity, slaughtering the wicked and attempting to overthrow the divine order. The vision of a cosmic war between angels and demons, with the earth caught in the middle, creates a sense of overwhelming destruction and chaos. The graphic depiction of cities burning and rivers of blood make this a terrifying apocalyptic scenario. Number 48. The Odes of Solomon is a collection of early Christian hymns, and while many focus on divine grace, some reveal the sorrow and despair of fallen angels who have been cast out of heaven. One of the odes describes the lament of the fallen angels, who are depicted as shadowy, deformed beings wandering the earth in sorrow. They sing mournful hymns of despair, recalling their former glory in heaven and their eternal separation from God. The text describes how these angels are cursed to roam the earth, causing mischief and leading souls astray. Their sorrowful songs echo through desolate places, causing fear and madness in those who hear them. These angels long for redemption, but know that they are forever doomed to darkness, fueling their rage against humanity. The image of fallen angels wandering the earth in sorrow and bitterness, combined with their desire to corrupt humanity, adds a deep sense of existential fear. The notion that their mournful songs can drive people to madness creates a haunting and eerie atmosphere. Number 49. The Gospel of the Egyptians is a Gnostic text that reveals hidden knowledge about the spiritual forces controlling the material world. It presents a cosmic struggle between light and dark, with terrifying descriptions of the archons, dark rulers of the material realm. In this gospel, the archons are described as monstrous beings that feed on the ignorance of humanity. Their forms are hideous, with serpent-like bodies and flaming wings, and they rule over the world by keeping souls trapped in a cycle of suffering and materialism. The text warns that these archons will soon rise to unleash chaos upon the earth. In a final confrontation, the archons will lead plagues, famines, and wars that will devastate humanity. Only those who attain secret knowledge can escape their grip and ascend to the higher realms, while the rest of humanity will be consumed by the archons' power. The depiction of the archons as malevolent cosmic rulers who thrive on human suffering adds an eerie existential terror to the text. The idea of being trapped in an endless cycle of ignorance and oppression by these dark forces makes for a deeply unsettling narrative. Number 50. The Gospel of Judas presents a controversial and unsettling interpretation of the role of Judas Iscariot, portraying him not as a betrayer, but as someone who followed Jesus' secret instructions. This text delves into Gnostic beliefs and provides dark revelations about the material world and spiritual realms. In this text, Judas is revealed to be the only disciple who truly understands Jesus' divine mission. Jesus speaks to Judas about the archons, powerful and malevolent rulers of the material world who keep humanity enslaved. These beings are described as terrifying entities that control the fates of human souls, manipulating them through suffering and deception. Jesus tells Judas that the material world is a prison created by these dark forces, and that his betrayal is necessary to free Jesus' spirit from their grip. Judas, though destined to be hated by the world, carries out the plan with full knowledge of the horror that will follow. The portrayal of a cosmic prison ruled by dark, unseen forces, and the concept that humanity is trapped by malevolent beings adds a layer of existential dread. The role of Judas as a willing participant in this dark revelation enhances the sense of inevitable doom and spiritual peril. Number 51. The Testament of Solomon is an ancient text that describes how King Solomon used a magical ring to summon and control demons to help build the Temple of Jerusalem. The text includes detailed descriptions of various demons and their terrifying powers. One of the most terrifying demons summoned by Solomon is Beelzebul, who appears as a dark, towering figure with wings of smoke and eyes of fire. Beelzebul reveals to Solomon that he is the prince of demons and that his power lies in corrupting kings and rulers. His goal is to bring chaos to the world through war and destruction, manipulating leaders to wage endless conflict. He takes pleasure in causing famine, plagues, and suffering, feeding off the fear and pain of humanity. Though Solomon binds Beelzebul with his ring, the demon warns that his influence will never be fully eradicated, and that he will continue to sow discord throughout the ages. The portrayal of Beelzebul as a powerful demonic ruler who thrives on the suffering and destruction of humanity creates a sense of cosmic horror. His ability to manipulate leaders and bring about chaos on a global scale adds to the sense of dread, making him one of the most frightening demons in the Testament of Solomon. Number 52. The Apocalypse of Sedrach is a Christian apocalyptic text that details Sedrach's vision of the afterlife and the final judgment. It includes graphic descriptions of the torment faced by the souls of the wicked. Sedrach is taken to the heavenly realms where he witnesses the final judgment of souls. He sees angels weighing the souls of the dead, with their sins exposed before the heavenly host. The wicked are cast into a lake of fire where they are tormented by demons. These demons are described as having serpentine bodies with sharp claws that tear at the souls of the damned. The flames of the lake burn continuously, and the cries of the wicked echo throughout the underworld. Sedrach is shown that these souls will suffer eternally, with no hope of release, as their punishment is divine justice for their sins. The detailed imagery of eternal torment, combined with the cruel actions of the demons, creates a vivid and terrifying picture of the afterlife for those who fail to repent. The finality of the judgment adds to the sense of hopelessness and fear. Number 53. The Apocalypse of Baruch, 2nd Baruch, is a Jewish apocalyptic text that describes the destruction of Jerusalem and Baruch's visions of the end of the world. It focuses on divine judgment and the fate of humanity during the final days. Baruch receives a vision of the end of the world, where he sees the sky darken and the earth begin to shake violently. Rivers turn to blood, and the mountains crumble into the sea. The text describes the heavens opening, releasing angelic armies who wage war against the forces of darkness. Baruch watches in horror as the earth splits open, revealing a massive chasm that swallows entire cities and their inhabitants. The righteous are saved, but the wicked are cast into the abyss, where they are consumed by fire and darkness. The vision ends with the complete destruction of the earth, leaving only fire and smoke in its wake. The apocalyptic imagery of the earth being consumed by fire and the terrifying destruction of entire cities creates a powerful sense of doom. The finality of the vision, with the complete eradication of the wicked, adds a haunting layer to the